You're so 2000 and late.
I
Funny
know
part
that
about
is
that
our.
lyric is that I think the album got delayed a year, so they had to change that
Oh, really?
because it came out in like 2009.
You're so
Yeah.
2008. You're so
What's up,
2008.
everybody? Shut up. Welcome to the Sonic Movie Show, episode 158. We're talking Black Eyed Peas. My name is Ethan, and with me here to the stuff is Devin.
What's so important you have to ruin my golf game?
What's that from?
Um, it's from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, the
Dr.
cartoon.
Robotnik says it. Yeah.
Okay, I mean that's fair. Man is
Yeah.
he's a capitalist, white man in
He
America. Of course
golfs.
he
He golfs.
golfs. You know. Do you remember? You probably never even heard of this. It was a few months ago. Some Apple executive that like sits on the board or something like that was in this random TikTok. This rich little fuck TikToker on an expensive ass golf course.
Oh,
He's
did he have a Lamborghini or something?
no,
That's my-
he's filming and he goes up to a guy in a golf cart and there's like a woman
Oh,
next to
okay.
him
I'm thinking of a
and
different video. Different rich person on a golf course with an
yeah,
expensive
and
thing.
this
Yeah.
guy he's filming is an Apple executive, and he says something like, "Oh, I like your I don't know what it was, like basically saying you have a lot of money, you're rich." And he said something like, "I love to grow big breasted women." He got fired.
I can think of it the same TikTok. Maybe it wasn't a golf cart. It was maybe an expensive car. But it was at
He
a
mentioned expensive cars and something. I
something.
just
I don't
thought
know.
it was funny.
We're on the same page.
And the dude
yeah,
looked
I did see that.
100% in that like overweight, white, balding, middle-aged, rich golfing dude. You know what I mean? Trump.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
literally, like what? Have you ever looked at like a political cartoon from the 1930s of like the CEO of Ford or a car manufacturer? That guy, an oil baron. That guy.
Yeah.
That visualization, they exist in still to this day, unfortunately.
Yep. It still exists to this day, video games, especially the ones that came out last year. They are fresh on our minds, and I'd like for us to talk about them. Even though it's mid-January, we're going to pretend it's 2022. Talk about the stuff we played in 2022.
Some people like to do award shows like in February and stuff for some reason, so I don't know. I think January is fine.
That's true.
For like,
that's true.
Big awards for like, the past year. I mean, don't do the Grammys though legitimately do it like in like August or something? I'm always confused. There's always one like in the summer where I'm like, who's thinking about last year?
Oh, they probably get their news very late because their icon is still a gramophone. So
They
it's
fax
just
everything.
they gotta
still.
change the thing to just like a lossless digital audio file waveform. That's the new icon now. It's just I'm just a sine graph. But
just use the old like podcast app icon that Apple used to have back in the day, just like one of those.
oh, remember Ping?
What do you mean? Like no,
Ping. Steve Jobs unveiled it at an iTunes or an Apple event.
I do not
It
remember
was
Ping.
in the iTunes application on your computer. This was in like 2009, 2010. But he announced this and
Okay.
it lasted like maybe a year before they shut it down. In iTunes, the desktop application which manages your MP3s, and at that point, movies you could buy. And I mean, the App Store was out, so if you had an iPhone, in 2009, 2010, like I did, I was blessed. #blessed. You had your apps on there, and you could manage, you could sync your thing. That application on your desktop computer, your Mac or your Windows PC,
Yeah.
had a social network on it called Ping. It
I
was
don't remember
essentially
that.
Twitter, and like I remember this because I'm like this. I don't think I saw it at the time. I saw this in post and thinking how funny it was, but like in this presentation, he pretends to have a conversation in Ping, which is essentially I get like Twitter again, with Lady Gaga, because she had that 2009 album, her big and I think probably best album was that year, so
Oh,
she was a big name.
I literally
Yeah.
just Googled it.
Apple
I do not
Ping.
remember this at all.
No.
I wasn't.
Because it was in
2009. I was still
iTunes.
burning. I was still burning CDs at that point.
Oh,
I was still going to my dad's basement and grabbing like all the Motley Crue records and burning them onto my.
I like
little
Motley
iPod.
Cute better.
Motley Cute.
Yeah.
It's a cover band. Could be.
I mean, probably
It's a good name, I guess.
Probably. I mean, that's how iTunes kind of started off as an easy place to burn all your CDs. But yeah,
Yeah.
iTunes is probably dead, in terms of actual, like, people don't use iTunes, the desktop
No.
application. You know what I mean?
Use Apple
They go on
Music if you're gonna
or
do
Spotify. Yeah, people don't buy albums digitally anymore.
I still have all this, like, all my iTunes on
Yeah.
my iPhone, and
my stuff's so dated. It's all from like
Yeah.
2011, 2010.
I think I still have even music
2012.
videos, because back then you could buy music videos. Remember that?
It's insane. That's what YouTube is good at now.
I remember I bought like a
I have
Rammstein
movies
music
on
video.
YouTube.
I had a Rammstein music video.
I have 2 movies
paid
on YouTube
$2
or
for
on
the
iTunes.
the 4-minute.
That's insane.
You would
Remember
play on your little iPod. Yeah.
remember the and maybe they still do it. It probably doesn't hurt them anymore now that streaming music is an actual thing and you can't really like abuse it. But remember like the 30-second like clip that you would like listen to a song before deciding if you wanted to buy it? Remember
Yeah.
that? Really like 30 seconds maximum, but like it can be shorter. It's so
I kind of
funny.
missed that though. It's interesting. I kind of missed that because it was
like a
I remember
teaser.
I get like yeah.
You know
I
what
got
I mean?
I would always get an iTunes gift card for Christmas. $15. I'm like, wow, okay, that's like 11 to 12 songs depending on what artist you're going to, and that's how I found some bands. I'd be like, I always heard about this band. Let me check out what their top hits are, and I'll just buy one if it sounds good in that 15-30 seconds that you were talking about.
It's just so funny.
So interesting. Yeah.
I remember on iTunes, early in iTunes for me, I guess this would have to have been 2010. On iTunes, I was playing a lot of, not on iTunes, but on, PlayStation, playing a lot of Final Fantasy 13. Underrated, a gem of a game. I love it.
It's the best one.
I love the soundtrack to it. It's a very good one. I think it's.
I'm just saying that because I'm
people
hoping
like to
there's
hate.
some final. I always like to say what for the one Final Fantasy person out there who's like, wow, what a fucking shitty, and then they can type out a whole thing. By the time they get to this point, they realize I'm trolling them.
Soundtrack's awesome in that game, legitimately so. We actually use a bunch of, not that you would know, a bunch of it in Oh Shit Danger, our D&D stuff. On iTunes, I found the entire complete soundtrack on there, but like the cover art was like in Japanese. Like this wasn't an in Western facing presentation for it. And using that preview, I found the songs I wanted, but like some songs would be very low or very like calm before they ramp up after 2 minutes. So like that preview doesn't mean anything,
But then hear, like 3 piano notes and you're like, shit, this could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like the album was expensive because there was like over 80 tracks in there. It's a video game, an RPG specifically. Like there's cutscene songs and then area songs and whatever. So I only bought specific ones. And on iTunes, I turned a couple of them into ringtones, which I never used because it's embarrassing to have a ringtone, honestly. So it was always vibrating, but I got them anyway. Point being that shortly after I started buying them, the album disappeared off iTunes and was replaced with like a selection CD that they did release in the West that has like 12 songs on it. None of them were the ones I even bought.
They didn't give you a refund? That should be a refund.
No, I mean I still have access to the stuff I had purchased.
I thought they like switched your files. They're like,
No.
Like that.
But it would give me errors sometime of like no album art because iTunes doesn't have the album art for that anymore. It has this other one. But no, all of those, like I found that soundtrack on Spotify and on YouTube and all that. So like, I have it legit there, but that's we're like 10 minutes into this episode and we're talking about iTunes. Let's talk about
if you
video
listen
games.
to the show religiously, you should expect that at this point that we can go on a tangent for 15 to 20 minutes. And that's
Dude, you're describing every podcast. I feel like that we are not unique by not staying on topic.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's in our DNA.
We're not that great.
It's in a lot of other people's DNA, but whatever.
We're not great because we're fantastic. Let's talk about video games in 2022. So, Devin and I played some video games in 2022. I think we barely played any of the same games in 2022, which kind of sucks because you can't really like discuss properly. And like the two that we did,
Or I
well,
guess
one
we're
released
not
in
at least
2022.
stroking the dick of whatever game that we both played then, I guess, for
Sure,
45 minutes. So I guess that's in a good way we could be like, oh, wow, interesting, Ethan. That sounds so fun.
I guess. Yeah,
And then
I
you
don't
could say
know.
the same to me.
um, Initially, like because we played so few games total, and the fact that the overlap is very minimal. Like I think literally the only two games you and I both played this year that were like not something we just play normally for fun with each other were two games we reviewed for podcasts for this show anyway. Fast and Furious, which was 2 years ago, and then
Honestly,
Sonic.
I didn't even include those.
No,
Didn't
but
include
like,
any of the homework that we gave ourselves.
yeah. Oh, and Sonic 06 as well, like,
I was gonna
um
joke and say that was my game of the year, but I don't even want to joke about
it's
that.
mine. It's mine. I still have that video on my desk. It's literally on my desktop. My supercut version of the final level so that it looked like I did it all in one life. I still have that on there. So yeah, initially I was thinking about like, oh, we could do like our award show, but like I didn't play Horizon. You didn't play Horizon,
We don't got
but
that
that would
time or
have to
money
be in
to
some of
do all that.
those
Yeah.
categories. So like, I didn't play God of War. You didn't play Elden Ring. I didn't play Gran Turismo. You didn't play Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. I need to kill chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's the overlap isn't there. So like whatever. We're just gonna talk about the games we played this past year and enjoy ourselves. So I don't really have much of a structure to this. So if you just want to
You don't
tell
have an
me a game
agenda?
you played, I mean, maybe we can go vaguely in like release date. You go through like
Oh God.
I don't know.
Okay, release date. Because I think we should start off by saying some of the games we might mention, at least for me, maybe not you, are games that came out a while back
Oh,
potentially.
that's true.
I mean, if you're going by release date, I can't tell. There's two on here. I don't know which one came out first. Which one came first, Ethan? Minecraft or Dark Souls? You don't pretend I'll say that like I knew it. Which one?
I meant for games that came out this year. If we're talking about games we
Oh,
played in general, whatever, sprinkle them in. But oh
for me,
boy,
it's new.
my gut tells me. Well, Dark Souls was 2011, and that should have
I
been
guess it's
Game of the
technically the
Year.
remaster. So I guess if I count that,
Then that's 2018. The
PC
remastered.
remaster. Yeah.
That's 2018.
Okay.
Minecraft would have been 2010, 2011 when it I think came out and maybe.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay. Well, if you don't want, okay, I'll do one that came out actually in 2022. You're gonna laugh because it's not really. It's a technicality because this game's already been out, but it had a surprise event that no one saw coming, including myself, who's an avid fan of this Japanese franchise.
Fortnite.
Close. Call of Duty Warzone had their
Oh.
Godzilla vs Kong event back in
Oh.
May, and I played the shit out of that because I'm like, I'll never know when we'll have like a triple. Like this is the closest thing to a AAA level Godzilla related thing. I wouldn't say it looked AAA because they didn't. It was a little clunky, but it was still fun, and
I'm sure it looked better than that 2014 Godzilla game. That, no one bought.
But I'm saying it also hasn't been that many like console Godzilla games since the fighting games back on like the last one was on the Wii U. I forgot the name of it, but there was one that was on the Wii U only.
Great system.
Might have been the Wii. I don't remember. Might even be older than that. But regardless, they had this event way after the movie came out. Godzilla vs Kong came out in 2021, like early 2021. So it was like a year and almost a half at this point since the movie came out. So when it was announced, and I saw on Reddit or something beforehand, like they're like, yeah, Call of Duty Warzone did this tease with like the Monarch and shit, and I'm like, what? Then like the next day, like they did a little trailer. And it was like, "Yep, Godzilla and Kong is coming to Call of Duty Warzone." I'm like, and at this point, last time I played Call of Duty Warzone was like maybe 6 months prior, Like I jump back in once in a great while because I do have fun with it. Not very good, so it's kind of hard to rack up them W's and maybe enjoy it. The longevity of that kind of gets annoying when you just always lose or expecting to lose.
Yeah.
Um, but the event was really fun, and like I think I did all the challenges you can do to unlock everything you can unlock in under like 20 or so hours. And
Oh. Hmm.
basically the premise was you go, so the island that you would go on normally is the same, but now Godzilla and Kong are just on the island throwing projectiles. Godzilla's shooting his beam. Kong is throwing rocks across the map and stuff, and you can get hit by it. The announcer dude will be like, or your comms guy will be like, "There's a rock incoming. Kong's attacking," and then like you have to get out of that area. So it does like push you, make you move a lot more, which is pretty cool. Um, but basically the challenges where you had to like just do damage most of the time was just like do X amount of damage to Godzilla, X amount of damage to Kong. And when you do that, eventually they start to look at you and attack you. Um,
Interesting.
and this is all
Was
happening.
it possible to kill either of them?
No, they don't die. But they'd have like they get like they go into like a rage mode after a certain amount of damage. And
Interesting.
that was another challenge. You have to do a certain amount of damage when they're in that mode. Um, But what was cool was if you did enough damage, you can unlock kill streaks. And one of the kill streaks, once you did a lot of damage, it's like I think it was like tiered, and I think the highest tiered was you got to use this device, which was similar to Godzilla King of the Monsters movie, where you can control the kaiju or whatever. Basically, you can do
Hmm.
it so you can control where Godzilla shoots his beam or where Kong throws his rock. So if you know there's a bunch of people in an area, you can chuck a rock to make them flush them out, then you can pick them
Interesting.
off that way if you're really good at the game. Super big advantage there. I don't think I think I killed one person once with the rock or something that Kong threw. But it's just really cool to like you could focus on them, but you have to
Hmm.
still watch out because it's still a battle royale. So like you can get
Right.
sniped from across that way, or because most of the time they're like Kong, for example, is always sitting on the inland. He kind of had like a couple spots he would jump to when Godzilla was always in the water surrounding the island. Um, so it was really really fun to do, and
Huh.
I was like I need to play as much as I can out of this because I know once it's gone that's it, and
Yeah.
probably never getting an event like this ever again. And I never would have thought it would have been in a Call of Duty, which I think was actually a
Right.
good
Right.
collab. I just thought it was weird to have it drop a year after the movie came out and not when the movie was out or maybe a
Well,
month before the movie was out. But
COVID maybe
yeah,
delayed, how they
yeah.
worked on
Still
stuff.
happy it happened. Don't get me wrong. And yeah, I got the cool Godzilla skin or whatever. And there was two guns you can get too, and one of them shot like the bullet had basically like flares on the ends of them that looked like Godzilla's
Oh, they
breath. That were pretty,
streaked, or
yeah. So it
whatever.
was pretty cool, almost like a laser gun to effects. But yeah, it's just really fun, and then to just jump in and you can play it like normal, but there's just so much other chaotic shit going on, and
Nice.
it's just really really fun. So shout out to Call of Duty, I
Call-
guess, for doing that one
Shout out to
event.
Call of Duty. I'll go next, as if there'd be any other option. A game I played earlier this year, and I'm looking at my shelf because I keep all the PS5 games here, and a selection of like other games that I'm at the ready for. A game I played this year that I enjoyed was Elden Ring. I guess I'll just talk about Elden Ring. I didn't beat it. I got two of the major bosses down, Godric and Renala. But that's just a game where you just explore and you just keep exploring and
Yeah.
you're exploring and you're having fun exploring and then you die a shit ton. Uh, Beautiful world, just visually stunning in a way that isn't. I wouldn't say like technically impressive. Like Horizon, I'm sure is technically impressive. They had a little behind the scenes thing talking about how they did their wave tech where waves would crash, on rocky shores, but also into each other, and how like they don't just clip through each other, they crash, and very technically impressive that game. Elden Ring is not technically impressive on that, scale, but artistically it is beautiful and impressive, and it does that thing where you get onto, a hilltop and you're looking a vista and it just looks beautiful. It just looks insane. You're just seeing things out in the distance where you're like, that is so fucking cool. I'm seeing these two gigantic humanoid hulking things with no faces drag this cart, this giant like, wheelhouse almost, this entire enclosed like caravan. They're just walking way in the distance, dragging it because the chains from the caravan are on giant like swords or something straight through their backs, sticking out their fronts. And they're just walking the whole thing. And if I just see them far away, I'm like, I want to go there, I want to check that out. And I attack them, and yeah, they will kill me. Or like I go over and I just see like dudes fighting each other way in the distance, and like they're fighting ghosts. And then you get close enough, and a giant spectral ghost monster will come and just kill everyone, and you just gain all of the experience points, all the souls for them just by watching, because where are they gonna go? It is a beautiful game. I wish I had more time to go back to it. I don't think I ever hit like a wall like I did in Dark Souls and not Bloodborne, but like I hit a wall in every game except for Demon Souls the original, where I'm like, I just can't now. I tried here and I'm stuck. I tried there and I'm stuck. It can't get good. I tried to play something else. That didn't happen to me with Elden Ring because there's just so much to explore. But it's just beautiful.
It's one of those things where I feel like, I know we both talked about in the past, like open world games, is as we've gotten older and have more responsibilities, it's much harder to like be able to like go from start to finish in these big
Yeah,
open world games when there's a million things to do. Not saying they're bad or anything like that, but for
it's
me at least,
tough.
it's just like it's tough. That's why I'm like, I don't even bother getting into Horizon or anything, because I just know
Yeah,
I'm just gonna feel bad that I didn't beat it or didn't
yeah.
do every quest or anything like that. I just, you know
Like
what? That's for the people who like that shit and can for a whole weekend play 72 hours somehow in 48. You know what I mean? Like that's for those people, not for me when I'm like, yeah, just want 3 hours. But it did look, yeah, it looked really good, and I like watched a couple like streamers play it. Like I'd have it on in the background while I'm working or whatnot, and every time I've like watched someone, I feel like they're in a completely different spot. So I don't know how big the map is because I haven't played it
it's
myself, but
huge. Because what I think is awesome about it, okay, a typical open world thing, you click the map button, big, and like all this area is fogged over except your zone. When you get to the new zone, you can the Assassin's Creed thing of climb to a top of a tower and synchronize, and then it reveals it in Breath of the Wild did it to this giant thing. What Elden Ring does so beautifully is it doesn't just show you the giant thing; it just shows you the area you are in. And when you get to one of those things that add more to the map, then it zooms out a bit to add them in. I still don't know how big the map is because I keep getting more and more and
more
more
sections,
areas.
regions.
Yeah, and it's huge. Like that game has surprises where like you open up a treasure chest and it teleports you hundreds of miles away, it feels like. And I'm like, I'm all the way over here. Now there's an area, and the map now just zooms way out because there's a spot way up here, and I'm way down there. I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to get there normally? I'm teleported here. Wow. Like, was I supposed to do this? I don't know, but like, I'm doing it now. Talking about like open world stuff, I wanted to, or I thought heavily about um playing Horizon Zero Dawn, the first game, and just mainlining it, just doing story stuff, and then playing the sequel. I'm not going to try to platinum it or anything. Just don't want to beat it. I should do it. I own it. That first one, I should do it. But like, I don't know. I feel wrong, or if I would feel bad for not doing it. Like some of
I mean,
those,
I
I don't
did
know.
like 20 hours. It felt like maybe it was not as long as that. When I play a game, I always feel like I played so much of it, and then it's like 8 hours. But like yeah, during 2020, when nothing else to do, nowhere to go, that's when I played a lot more games or took stuff off my shelf that I've never played. I'm like, I'm gonna give Horizon a try for a couple weeks, and yeah, I tried to streamline it, and I remember like I feel like I played a lot, and then I finally got to the second area, and then I'm like, and it looked bigger than the first section. I'm like, I kind of just want to play Mortal Kombat where I can just play one match and feel
Yeah.
satisfied. Nothing against the game, didn't hate any part of it. It's just like this feels like it's going to be a lot, and I'd rather just tap out now instead of get totally invested. And then I don't know, I get stressed sometimes with that kind of stuff, when it's just like there's too much to do, or just well, I'm invested now. If I don't finish it, then blah blah blah, like all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So
But but you will get one of those games who you are invested and you are thankful that it's endless content because that's all you want to do. Like when Zelda comes out this year, like all my complaints about open world stuff, I'm throwing that out the window because just like with Breath of the Wild, I'm probably going to do everything in that game and I will play it for hours and hours and hours just because Breath of the Wild was so good. I'm assuming its sequel is also going to be good. So I think just like, we complain about video game length, we want them to be shorter and shorter, but like we're happy when a game we're super into is long because we just want more and more of it. So like, well, I don't
yeah,
necessarily, let me put it this way. I'm not interested in Starfield, but when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, I'm going to be happy as a clam that it's like a big thing, like, but like if I played Starfield, I would probably be like, just like with Fallout 4, uh, ah, eh, okay. I just want to like have a bow and arrow and kill spiders in a cave. I don't want to shoot these awful guns in Fallout 4. So I don't know. I'm that way at least. What's another game you
I don't
played
know.
this year?
I was gonna say, just to follow up, like for me, it's like I'm still on game length, even things I like, because I feel like I don't know how to say it, but just like sometimes, or maybe it's just like the for me, like outside of God of War, uh, just in general, like last two of them, 'cause I think I put like 60 hours in the first one in platinum that, and then the Ragnarok so far I'm around 27, 28. I feel like I'm at least past the halfway point, I think. But like you said, like it is an investment. You're more invested because maybe it's your favorite franchise or whatever, so you want more content. But at the same time, I'm like one of those people that I think that's why I like movies and TV shows so much, where I'm like, I know it, this is 10 episodes. I know it's this amount of time. And I think there's an art, not saying it's more artistic than people who make 100-hour games or whatever. I'm just saying that, like, I think there's this type of art to the fact that, like, we're trying to tell a story, and we're gonna do it in 15 hours.
It's true.
You know?
You don't when you start a video game, you don't know how long it's going to be. Like, yeah, the developer's going to give their estimate, but like that's kind of bullshit. And yeah, you can use how long to beat, but like that's not you. Like you how long is the story in this game? Like you're
Yeah.
right. It's not something that you're aware of like even if you're watching a TV show that's releasing week by week, you know how many episodes were ordered and you know the length of each episode. Unless it's a streaming thing where like they might do a 45 as opposed to a 30, you still
Yeah.
like the scope of it. For a video like with Last of Us Part 2, like that game was twice as long as I
Long.
expected
Yeah.
twice as long as I expected. I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to end at one point, and then it kept going, and then I thought it was going to end at another point, and it kept
And then it
going, and then
kept
I thought it
going.
was going to end a third time, and it kept going,
and
but just for a
that is,
prologue,
yeah.
and then
And that was
or
kind
an
of
epilogue.
that was my like big critique of that game. I know when we did our review, is like I loved this, but maybe we could have shortened it. Not because it was bad, just because I was like, I didn't know when it was gonna. It just felt like a big investment of time and like
But to the super
energy.
fans, and you
Yeah,
waited
whatever.
so long for these games, like, yeah, you don't want it to be an
Yeah,
hour or two. I get it. So I don't know, but all right, what's another game you played?
yeah. So one that came out this year. Once again, this is gonna be a technicality because the game did come out beforehand, but it finished. They finally finished it
Okay.
this year, and I played it. I picked it up again this year and finished it. So Raft, which came out
Oh,
on Steam back in like I want to say like 2019, maybe even earlier than that. Uh, and Raft, for people who don't know, because it's I originally saw some YouTuber people play it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of up my alley. Basically, you're in the middle of the ocean, and you can play with friends, and you're basically just trying to survive. You build a raft out of garbage you pick up in the water around you, and then there's a shark that occasionally attacks your raft. But you need to find food, and you can get food from either fishing, or you can visit these little islands that have fruit and stuff. So it's kind of like your I think from like 2011 to like 20 probably till now, I would say, but still, like, I feel like there was a genre of like those survival games. I know we played Rust
Right.
back in 2013 there, and that was like a big thing. So I was going into it with that in mind when I first played it, but they did add like a story mode to it where like you can find
Oh.
a basically you get like you start with like a book that has coordinates on it, and you don't know how to find these coordinates, but eventually you make a machine to find these coordinates. And back in I think 2019, 2020, Justified Not, one of my friends and we played it. I want to say like 25, maybe 30 hours. And we did all we could in the story mode, but it ended on like a cliffhanger because they were still making they called it the third chapter. Uh, and that third chapter took like 2 years for them to make because they're a small
Wow.
indie team. But basically they were always in, I don't know if it was in full release at this point, if it was still like in beta or whatever, technically. But eventually this past, I think it was like February or March that they said that like, oh, this game is now considered full release, and this is the final chapter
Hmm.
for the story mode. So we went back in, and we were able to pick up our save where we left off and knock out the next couple uh, coordinates. I'm not gonna spoil it because if you're into this, I think it is pretty cool. There's a little like basically there's like little like short stories almost at every location you go to. Because the premise is the reason you're in the
But it's
ocean is
procedural, right?
yeah. So except for the coordinates, I think are plotted.
Or preset islands.
Yeah, but
Okay.
everything else is procedural. So you theoretically could just wander in the ocean endlessly in one direction. I do think there's currents that keep you in a general bowl because we would run into like these currents.
Hmm.
Uh, we actually like you could build like an engine and stuff to like push it, and we tried our best not to like Google anything, so we would just try like different things and see if it would work. Like eventually we realized we can use paddles to push our entire what felt like a 300-foot raft, basically a battleship at this point. If you just use one paddle, it can fight through currents. So me and him would just push with the paddles to fight through these currents because we realized we couldn't get to some of the coordinates unless we were able to push through these currents, which I thought was cool. That like you could just figure that out
Interesting.
naturally through the game, and it doesn't tell you that.
Right.
So there's a lot of trial and error in that game, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff I feel like we didn't even figure out, but we just kind of went how we went. But yeah, so if you're into a survival game but also want maybe like a story that you can go through and then feel like you're satisfied or finished, I'd recommend Raft. I think it's probably like $20 on Steam, pretty
Okay.
cheap. If you and a friend want to just find a game that you want to play
You can have your own
once in a while,
Justified Not adventure.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was just really fun to like explore all these coordinates and learn the backstories and whatnot. Because I forgot to mention that basically the reason you're in the ocean is because they hint at it's like climate change that like the ocean's flooded.
It's like
So
Waterworld, but they're
water worlds.
islands.
So
Remember that movie?
I didn't see that movie, but I know of the movie.
It's terrible.
I know there's a ride in Universal that's popular because of it.
The only licensed game for the Nintendo Virtual Boy was Waterworld.
Hmm. I'll watch it one day. Sounds cheesy. But yeah, Raft. I'm glad it finished because I know they took them a bit to finish it, but I think like I said, small indie team, probably like 5 people. I don't even know. Working on that, so to have them finish that and just felt satisfying and it was fun. So recommend
Nice.
Raft.
Nice. I'm going to do two because this first one's short. A game I played in the month of March for a single hour, and I pre-ordered it for $60.
Oh, I know.
Babylon's Fall. Yes, the game that you and I, Devin, once believed to be a secret near sequel turned out to just not be that. It is a live service games by the folks at Platinum Games, published by Square Enix, with music that sounded like Haichi Okada. I think that's his name. Fuck, I forgot. Okada, I think is his last name. The composer. It sounded maybe like that. I don't know. Um,
It looked a lot like
and
it too in the
combat
original
looked like it.
marketing. Yeah, it could have
And
been.
especially when you get closer to the game and the marketing says, "Oh, the team really loved making Nier Automata and they wanted to make a Nier Automata that would never end." I'm like, "Okay, this is still because they're not denying that not that. I played it for an hour. The oil painting aesthetic sucked. I know they patched that literally out after after I stopped playing. They patched the aesthetic away. Like the unique aesthetic factor because it sucked. It made everything look terrible. Combat was slow and clunky because it needs to be able to sync up and ping with multiple people because it's a live service game. You do dungeon runs together, and they don't want you to just, 2B829S, Metal Gear Rising, a boss yourself, and have everyone else not know what to do. So everything has to be slow and stuff. And I also hear that there are like maybe 5 enemies in the game, like
Oh
all
boy.
that nonsense. I played it for an hour. I didn't even stream it. I was just like, yeah, I just gotta start this. I was playing Elden Ring at the time. I'm like, I guess I gotta start this.
That probably
Did
didn't
not
help
have
that you went
fun.
from like the game of the year
Yeah,
to
to this game. But I was
to this
excited.
game.
I pre-ordered it, Devin. I pre-ordered it on PlayStation
You
5.
fell for it. You fell
And
for the marketing.
in a month the servers
They
are going to get
caught you.
shut down and I can never play that game again. And I still have yet to actually play it since. I need to start
You should do
streaming
a
this
class
game.
action.
I'm not going to start that stuff. We know a guy that knows all of the class action lawsuits. I'll
David. The
ask
name is
him.
David.
Yeah, yeah.
Friend of the show,
Um,
David.
I'm gonna have to I would love to platinum the game because I hear it's not that long. It's a grind, but like you can easily still do it in the length of time you have left. But I would at least want to just play it a bunch. So I need to do that before it goes up out. And I literally have a coaster in a case that I can't play anymore. It is insane that that we allow companies to do that to a game that is just an online thing. Just to shut it down.
We should just ban video games
We should just ban video games.
for like 2
So there's
years.
that. There's
Everyone can
that
think
game.
about it, what they've done, and then come back. You get
There's
no
that
more
game.
games for 2 years.
No more games. Honestly, if you said you can't release a video game until 2025, when 2025 rolls around, all the games that were supposed to release this year are going to be awesome because they had 2 years to polish it.
Maybe
No
maybe you
bugs.
do it like sports where Babylon's Fall was so bad they basically cheated, right? Or like they broke some league rule.
Oh,
You
okay.
punish them, be like you're
Okay.
you're not allowed to make any games for 2 years.
Damn, you can't
can't
even
even
work.
You can't
You're out of
you can't do
job.
it. You're
You're
suspended.
fired.
You're
We
suspended for 2
fired you.
years.
So there's that. But the real game I want to talk about is Stranger of Paradise: Final Fantasy Origin, published by Square Enix, developed by Tecmo Koei. The developers, I guess it's weird. Tecmo Koei is a publisher, but they're so small potatoes, they're so small like scale that like they're really just a developer in that sense that like they own a couple developers that have worked with Tecmo and Koei before they merged. Like the fact that Square Enix will hire Tecmo Koei to have one of Tecmo Koei's studios, Team Ninja, which which made the Ninja Gaiden games, and
And
they also
Ninja.
made Ninja. They made Ninja, the blue
They
hair
made
and
him in a
everything.
test tube.
Yeah, yeah. They also made compare Souls like games called Neo, Nioh,
Yeah.
and Neo 2, which were good. I didn't play Neo 2, but I played the first one a fair amount, and I was impressed. But this was before I became a Souls nut. I was a Ninja Gaiden nut. I liked action games. So like I'll play their version of Dark Souls. I don't want to play Dark Souls. I'll play their version, and it was hard. But I appreciated the technical aspect they had. It felt very unique. You had 3 different stances with your samurai sword, and you regained stamina if after you attacked there was a beat, and on that beat, if you swapped to a different stance, you gained some of that stamina back. So it was a cool dance of like going from high aggressive to defensive to just going in and out. In any case, that team got hired by Square to make a remake of the original Final Fantasy or a retelling of those ideas. And I didn't beat it. I still need to. I'm real close.
Who is the stranger in paradise? Did you figure that out?
It's the main characters because
Oh.
it's a simulated world. No, it's a different world than what these four characters are from. And that's why they wear
Okay.
normal people clothes in the fantastical world of Final Fantasy. But they're still like fashionistas. They still have designer. Like main character named Jack, blonde shaved Jack, wears a t-shirt, but like I'm gonna stand up here. You can see my fat ass. Like imagine if the end here. Well, I'm still cut off. Like instead of the end, one end droops down and kind of covers. Like, but
Yeah.
it's just a t-shirt. But it's that like high end street fashion, but not trying to be like it's weird. It's weird. In any case, it's like a simulated world, or they're
Truman
from a
Show,
different
like
world. No, no, no.
not
But
Truman Show
like,
though.
okay, the thing that I think is cool that the game does, that this particular game does, is, and this is very rare to see in Final Fantasy the brand, the types of crossover stuff between the different numbered entries, in the sense that it's like, I don't want to say an anthology because I feel like that implies, some sort of connected message that they have. They're separate games, separate worlds, separate characters, separate ideas. A few similar ideas are tied to them, like crystals, and they're monsters, but they might look different. But like, a bomb is usually a fiery kind of floating thing that explodes. How that's depicted depends on the game, right? So there's some little motifs there, but Stranger Paradise implies that each of those worlds are different dimensions. Each of those games are different dimensions, and this world that you're in has areas that are made to kind of feel like a specific area in a different Final Fantasy game, dimensions or whatever. And I didn't realize this after many, because it's level based. It's a Souls like that's level based, but it's also like gear, like your stats are based off your gear. It's very, you don't have to pay too much attention. There's literally a button that says equip me with the best shit. I will look like a fool because none of my outfits don't match each other. Like my hat, I could be wearing a top hat and
That's the
like
toughest
plate
part of like some
mail,
of these RPGs, man.
but
Like they're like you just want to look cool, but then like
the
you get
stats
your best
though, the
armor. It's the
stats,
stats though. Yeah.
whatever. I just always hit the and you can literally say auto sell everything that's less than this value or whatever, stuff like that.
Mm.
It just is, it's, you don't need to pay that much attention to it. But it's level based, and it took me several levels to realize each of these were based off a different Final Fantasy, and I got to one of them and I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy 13. And I'm listening to the music and I'm
The
like,
best one, by the way.
yes. And I'm listening to the music and I'm like, there's a melody floating in the background of the main melody that is a melody from an area in Final Fantasy 13. I'm like, I did this on stream. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this supposed to be that area? And then I'm like, I'm not thinking about another level. I'm like, wait a second, that's that. And then I got to, and eventually I got to the one that's based off Midgar from Final Fantasy 7. I'm like, oh my god, this is weird. This is so weird, but in a cool way where it's not, it's
So
very
maybe you're not
subtle.
strangers.
Yeah, maybe. But it's trying to be like the main character becomes the villain of the first game type stuff. But
Gotcha.
I will say this, and I know you're into marketing stuff, especially when it comes to the social medias.
I love it.
Right? I will commend the team that handled the marketing and the social media in particular of this game, because when we first got that trailer for this game in 2021, at E3 2021 or whatever was around then, it was super campy. It was trying to be serious, and the game itself wants to be serious. It is not trying to be funny at all. Like, yes, there are joke characters that will joke, but like the premise, the fact that the main character is the most angry edgelord, like dude, bro, is not played as a joke. It's not supposed to be played as a joke. It just is. It just is. Like the scene early on in the game after the first level, which is considered a prologue, when you fight who you think is the final boss, but it's just one of the new characters that comes into your party. who has transformed herself into the boss for whatever reason. And they've all met each other before, but their memories are erased every cycle or something crazy stupid. And she's lamenting about how she thought if she became chaos, then like maybe chaos wouldn't be real, and like maybe this dream would end. And the main dude Jack just says, and everyone's memed this. He just says bullshit. Turns around, puts his earbuds in, his wireless earbuds, plays like a Limp Bizkit song on his phone. Literally, it's a licensed track. I don't know what the song is. He plays one. Okay, we'll get you TOS or DMCA'd out of hell. And I got DMCA'd in a flashback that played a Frank Sinatra fucking song. Like, why? Why are we doing this? It plays this
New
edgy
York,
song.
New York.
He walks away from his friends and this new character out, cuts to him outside, and they're just right behind, and the song ends, and he turns around, they just continue the conversation. And I'm like, blowing my mind. This was serious. I love it. I love how campy this is, because they're trying. So like the first trailer was that tone of like, oh no, people made fun of how many times people did a supercut of that first trailer, how many times just the main character said the name Chaos. And it's all in the same tone. And people evoked it like, the second trailer doesn't say Chaos at all, because they paid attention. We were all around when the game starts to come out, and people are making fun of it, but people still like it, and it sold well, and it reviewed pretty well, and it sold very well. They didn't try to course correct in the marketing to actually show you why it is cool or serious.
Yeah.
But they also didn't try to be like, yeah, it's kind of stupid, huh? They didn't do that either. They did the very subtle thing of just silently acknowledging the campiness without disrespecting the effort and work that the creators did. We're like, yes, Square Enix will do on their Twitter, their main Twitter, not just the Twitter like for that game, but just Square Enix main account, or the Final Fantasy one rather, will tweet like, just series stuff of like, oh, there have been plenty of the healing class and is considered white magic, and the damage dealing is considered black magic. So there'll be white mages. There have been many white mages over the series. What are your favorites? And they'll show 4 pictures of 4 different characters from different Final Fantasies. And they've done this for a bunch of different of the classes or jobs, as they sometimes call them, showing like, oh, there's Aerith from Final Fantasy VII. There's this character from this. There's this character. And then they always show a picture of Jack holding his hand out for a fist bump, because you gain different classes in that game. He can be all of them. And it's just the same photo. They've done this for so many different classes. They always make one of them just him with his fist bump out, looking serious, because they know it's funny, but they're not being like, this game is dumb, if that makes sense. That's the tone that they take yourself.
You can not take yourself too seriously as a brand, but also sell your product, right?
Yeah,
so
and that's the tone. They went from being like, this is literally an epic retelling of the first Final Fantasy. We have the word origin in the name. It's serious. Who is Garland? He's the villain of the first game. This main character's last name is Garland. They go from that seriousness to just be like, just acknowledging silently that yes, it's very dumb and funny. But people like the game, so we can't be upset. You know what I mean? It'd be different if people were like, fuck this game. I hate it, So I applaud them on that. I still need to finish it. And I do want to platinum it, but it also had DLC, by the way, that just came out over the summer. I want to platinum it, but it requires a second playthrough on the hardest difficulty. So I'm debating whether or not I want to do it. That is 2 of my games. Give me yours. What do you have next?
I have 2 left that I've kind of already talked about in previous episodes, so I guess I'll just run through those to wrap myself up. So last episode we talked about the Gran Turismo movie and the Gran Turismo 7 VR, and I briefly mentioned that I had 30 hours in the game. So yeah, I have 30 hours in Gran Turismo 7 for 2022. Wow. And according to my PlayStation Spotify Wrapped, that was my the game I played most on PlayStation.
Oh, right.
So
For a
So
second, when you
30.
said Spotify, I'm like, man, are you listening to the soundtrack? Is it the
No,
most?
no, no, no. I just like to
But
call,
I had a
because
brain
everyone
fart.
copied Spotify, so I like to call everybody's
The most
brand thing their
insulting one, and I
Spotify Wrapped.
texted you to this privately. The most insulting Wrapped I've ever seen is Grubhub. Listen,
Yeah.
buddy, I don't want to know how many times I ordered McDonald's. That's not something I'm proud of.
You ate 40 cheeseburgers in under
It's
6 months. Like,
it's legit like that. I'm like, your favorite meal was no. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, yeah.
Gran Turismo.
No, so yeah, Gran Turismo 7. And last time I played a Gran Turismo game was, I think, the fourth one, which was on what, PS2.
Yeah, it's the
So I
best
remember
one.
playing it a decent amount as a kid. And maybe not being very good at it because the game is a sim and there's some level of difficulty. The higher you go up in races and whatnot, and what cars you're using, and how you juice them up. But yeah, this game was just really fun. It's a good summer game. A lot of stuff that I consume, I tend to always put into like season categories or like weather
Okay.
categories, and I feel like this game, it came out in the summer or like late spring,
No, it
early
came out in
summer.
spring.
It just felt like a good summer game where people are out driving more.
No one wants to
and-
race in the winter.
exactly.
Gotta race when it's
But
sunny
I don't
out.
know. It's just like a vibe that they had in the game that just felt perfect for when it released. And for me, there was kind of like a break in kind of games I was interested in. And Gran Turismo, I got it at GameStop or whatever. But yeah,
Shout out
it's
to
just really
GameStop.
fun. Shout out to GameStop. Long may you reign. We'll see. But yeah, what was really cool about the game is that I might have mentioned this before, or I at least told you privately that like the game is a visual novel in its story mode, but it does it in a very just simple way where it's like you're going to this cafe and there's people who talk to you, and it's just text, so it's not like voice actors or whatnot. It's just text being like, "Hey, you're the new driver around, and hey, just go collect these 3 cars by winning these 3 races, or hey, go do these challenges to get this license so you can unlock this." And it just kept building itself up through doing that, and the challenges, each one felt like 25 to 30 minutes, so it felt productive and it felt like a good length. It didn't feel impossible, to do. And one of my favorite thing is in this game, and like I said, I didn't play the other ones in between 4 and 7, so maybe this was in the other games. But a lot of like
Well, it's the best
actually
one
more
since 4 that I've heard people say. So
there's like little missions you can do, and like I mentioned, you can get these licenses as well by doing these certain tests. And what I like about it though is that there's demo reels for each one of those things to show you how to do it. So if you're struggling, you
Oh.
can watch the demo and see how they do it, and you can learn like how to, because most of the things was like do this turn, and it'll be like a big U-turn that you have to do. So it's like telling you like you should be braking here, and also gives you like tips like, hey, make markers so you know when to brake. So you see this one sign, or you see this one tree or this one rock on the side of the road, pick that as your point to start turning. And honestly, like, it's gonna sound stupid, but like I feel like it almost made me a better driver
Hell
in
yeah.
real life, if that makes
Hell
sense.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm like going 100 miles an hour every day to work or something like that, but just like I'm thinking
Yet.
about more about like when I'm turning my wheel, I'm thinking about the game where I'm learning that it's not like how to not make a wide turn versus like a more narrow turn, or hey, if you're, if you are going too quick, how do you make a turn that is safe still? You know what I mean? Not, like I said, not that I'm doing races, but I just find that stuff super interesting, and it made me actually appreciate like actual racing in real life. Not that I've had time to really watch it or whatnot, but like I grew up like with my dad watching NASCAR and stuff, and I'd always watch it and didn't like get it until I like went to a track and saw how fast they went. I thought that was cool to see it in person. But like it's giving me more appreciation to be like all the tiny details that go into like racing, and like why the experts who do all that kind of stuff know when like someone's about to hit their PR on a lap, or like why this turn is important and why this is the way they do things. Why do they do certain pit stops why do they use these kind of tires? What's also cool in the game too is it has it has history of cars and stuff, so you can read history about every vehicle, every
Yeah.
brand, and it's like super in depth, but in a way that isn't like it's optional, and it isn't. I think it's also super digestible. It's not dry. Like it's just like this is what these cars are. And when you're collecting the cars for your little menu at the cafe, your
Hmm.
next chapter in your visual novel, you're learning about all these different types of cars. The Volkswagen, the Dodge Challengers, uh, and so on and so on. And it's just I don't know. There's like so much in the game that even my 30 hours, I know I want to come back at some point. I just took a break because other games are coming out. But like, I just felt like I learned so much. Like, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is I learned more about cars and like what goes into them and shit. I now know where the brake pads are on my freaking car now from this
Really?
game. Like, I never noticed. I'm like, oh, that's where they are. They're like on the side.
In
You can
that,
see them through the
yeah,
rim. And I
yeah.
never knew that. I always thought they were literally pillows, basically equivalent rubber pillows that you had somewhere internally, like underneath the car. I didn't know that you could actually see them.
Yeah,
I
they clamp. They clamp
Yeah,
on your
it's
front
crazy.
wheels.
Like I learned so much from this game just about cars and like how they work and like what tires like that race cars now use for certain weather conditions and stuff and what engine parts you can put in and what they do and what they mean. So like I'm still not a mechanic by any means. Or mechanically inclined will never probably will be, but yeah, I just learned so much from this game. So like I have a huge appreciation from that point of view of just like how much work that probably goes into like these race car drivers and whatnot who they're just going in a circle like anyone can do that. It's like no, like there's so much detail that go into like each turn, knowing when you should pass people, when should you brake in front of people to like cut them off, and how do you do it, because the game like most of the challenges like you can't hit people, like you can't like try to crash someone.
Right.
Most races they let you go with it because they know that you're not going to be amazing at it. But like it feels great when you like complete some of those challenges where they're like pass 4 cars, and if you touch them, you fail the mission. And it's like you have 3 miles to beat them. And it's like it, and
Hmm.
you get like different tier rankings. So if you get S tier, you had to do under a certain time limit, and you have to like perfect it. And like you can watch the demo, and the demo is always the S tier, so you know exactly like, oh, they
Oh,
did
okay.
this,
Right.
they did that. And the game just feels so good too, like mechanic wise. They always do a good job of that. It is a driving sim after all, but yeah, it made me like really like more car shit than I thought I would ever would. So shout out to Gran Turismo 7.
Nice.
Do you have any more? Because I have the one left, but it's God of
Yeah, I
War.
have a
But
few
if you
more. Gran Turismo 7, by the way, literally before recording this, before we got into the call here, I was looking on Amazon for at the game, see how if it was on sale. Right now it's $70, so I'm gonna wait a bit. But I was thinking about getting it. I'm
I would
thinking
like, even if we just one time just raced and messed around in it for like a couple hours, I
that's
think
a
that'd be
series
super
where I
fun.
forget that it would have multiplayer. Like
Yeah.
it was never the
That's the one thing.
intent,
That's the one part of the
for
game I haven't even tried yet was online racing. That's how like 30 hours in, I'm still just messing around with all the other stuff, and I'm like
yeah.
satisfied with. So I'm like, I haven't even tried the online racing yet.
Gran
So
Turismo has always been, in my opinion, and kind of this might feel funny to say to people nowadays, but especially during the PS2 era, um and leading into PS3 especially, Gran Turismo to me is the most prestigious PlayStation franchise. Like, it's Gran Turismo, which is weird to say because it's a racing simulator that's driving games. But nowadays, Sony is most known for third person, story driven
Last
action
of Us,
adventure
God of War,
games,
yeah,
Horizon, etc., right? Um, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, all that stuff. But still, like, Gran Turismo has always been like, Gran Turismo 4 had like over 700 cars in it. It's a PlayStation 2 game. That game looked
crazy.
incredible on PS2. I'm telling this people right now, like, I think in this modern day of like HD TVs with HDMI cables, therefore it's hard to hook up a PS2 and no one has the tube TVs. And when you do hook up a PS2 and you're displaying it on LCD monitor because you're emulating it or whatever, they don't look as good as on a actual CRT TV. People forget how good games used to look. Because they look worse now when we go on YouTube and we look at them on YouTube legitimately. I tell this right now. Not that you really have the means, because you probably don't. And if you did, you already know what I'm talking about. But if you have a CRT, you have a PlayStation 2, and you have a copy of Gran Turismo 4, play it on there, it will look so real that you'll be like, wow, games did not come a long way since Gran Turismo 4. It looks incredible of a video game. It is insane. And it ran at 60. But a couple more games for me. I'll go quick on like a trio of them before I get, I guess, into like a big one. So first off, there's a bunch of games that I purchased that I have not played. One of them is this right here, Tactics Ogre Reborn, a remaster, a remake of an old Square Enix RPG like strategy game on PS1. Um, there's that. There's Valkyrie Elysium, which is another Square Enix game. There's a lot of smaller scale Square Enix games this year, which I find so
Yeah, I feel
fascinating
like
that
they
they
did
did.
drop a lot. Yeah.
And they competed with each other, but like Forspoken got delayed till next year. Like all their big games, like Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Reunion, are next year. They didn't have anything like that this year, so they have a bunch of smaller games. I didn't even own them all. There's a bunch that came out this year, so I have like three of those. Also, Crisis Core Remastered or Reunion or whatever it was called, Rebirth, whatever. I still have to play those. I haven't even touched them. I literally opened Tactics Ogre out of the cellophane like plastic wrap just so I could put it on there so it wouldn't be reflective. I haven't even put it in the I haven't opened the case yet.
Still
I
got
don't
that
even know if there's a
smell.
disc in there. But it's a trio of games I did play this year that are small. I platinumed my 100th game this year in the summer. My 100th platinum was a HD remaster kind of remake of a pair of games that were very near and dear to me as a child. A small Namco series called Klonoa, puzzle platformer 2D. Looks the original was on PlayStation 1. Um, it is so beloved, but also so undersold on PlayStation 1 that trying to get an even respectably like held together copy, because those CD cases they shatter.
Yeah.
I'm thankful I have a bunch that did not shatter, but like I look on eBay and I see a bunch of just cracks in the cases. A respectable copy of the original Klonoa game is like $600. So I will never own that.
So
And
that's
I
two
love that
Xbox
game.
Series S's. Come on.
I rented that game. I never owned it. And I rented but never owned the sequel on PlayStation 2. This Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. It's a terrible name for this remaster. Whatever. They should have just said like 1+2 or something like Tony Hawk.
Call it 3. Just 1 plus
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. They combined had one trophy list high platinum those two games together as one thing. Loved it a lot. Don't really have many notes about it. It looks beautiful. But they were remade in Unity, which is interesting because Unity to me is a mobile game, engine, or like a low end Steam release engine, not like a Japanese company doing something. But it didn't look bad, and like it did, everything ran well. I did get a couple funny bugs, but like whatever, that happens in even the biggest games. Love to see that back, and I hope that they make a third one. But they won't, because it probably didn't sell very well. In fact, they did not expect it to sell well. Um, there was no physical copies for North America, but Europe got physical copies. So I literally imported from Amazon.co.uk a physical copy of
Oh.
it on PS5 so I can have one for my
You got a
shelf.
British version. Okay.
I have a British version. It has the Peggy logo on it, Peggy 7 or whatever. Um, so there's that. And then also, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. I didn't finish that, and I will. I'm close. That game has lots of bugs in it. I talked about this on a previous episode of
Yeah,
this
one of
podcast.
our news episodes or a couple
I
of
I
months
have
ago.
my
Yeah.
opinions on it are a bit more evolved. But suffice it to say, I walked away from the game because it crashed on me way too many times, and I just lost a couple hours of collectible hunting that I did not want to repeat, at least right then and there. So
Yeah,
now
I
I'm
feel
fine
that.
doing it
Yeah.
because it's been a while. I'm like, whatever, I just throw on a podcast and listen and play because I wasn't streaming it. Um, the game is unfortunate in the sense that it feels out of time and out of place, because, and I say this mainly because they're restraining themselves to using the audio from the PS2 original still. Like, they try to add in a couple, like, they'll take a cutscene or an interaction between two characters, because often that game did the you stand here, Crypto stands here, and they just stand there and talk and gestate. So
Yeah.
like, they'll add in extra animations to that, or like they'll extend a cutscene. But because they're restrained to what the audio of the PS2 original was, there are moments where they don't talk, and it feels weird. And like I
That's
don't
how
know
it
if
was a little bit in the first one. That it
the
just
remake
felt,
of the 2020
yeah,
remake.
the pacing at a couple moments was like that.
Like,
But
what are you guys doing? This is so weird. Um, they're it is so buggy. It is so buggy. It feels
that's
like a
really
PS2 game.
unfortunate.
It is so buggy. Like in the open world PS2 type of way, where like I start a mission, I'm supposed to escort the extremely hot Russian spy lady who they made in this game, in this version, extremely hot. But yet, because it's restrained to the PS2 original's audio, they
Yeah.
cannot characterize her more than what was there. There's a couple moments where I'm like, this character is legitimately charming in ways that like is not because of sex appeal, but they are silent because she can't say new things. So it's weird. So it feels very
Yeah, part of
restrained in
me
that
wonders
sense.
if they should just. I
So
get
under
why
budget.
it was under budget, but I we've said it before, but I hope that if they should just reboot Destroy All Humans, just
Yeah.
take the good things out of these two games and just reboot it. I don't know if they will. I don't know
Because
how
what are you
these
going to
games
remake
sold, but
the game I was told was very racist on Xbox 360 and PS3
yeah.
that didn't even
But
come to
maybe give
America?
it like 5 years.
You're
In
gonna do a
5 years,
Wii game?
surprise
Make
us.
a new
And
one, exactly.
yeah, 5 years, surprise us with new voice actors. Find people
Like
close enough to them. They'll
listen,
be
you
fine.
can do your very cynical, you know, almost GTA levels of cynicism on modern day stuff with this character, and but just do a reboot. But
You
yeah,
could do a
like,
different era. Do a reboot. Do the 80s or something.
yeah, I mean, because I think Path of the Furon, the Xbox 360 and PS3 game, which did not come to America, was the 70s, and the Wii game was the 70s. But even then, like, I feel like people don't care about that type of parody anymore. Do just set it in modern day. I don't know. But regardless, going back to the bugs, I started a mission where I have to escort her up the volcano on the Japanese island one, where really borders the line on the characterization of the Japanese characters. They get close to where I, as a white person, say is kind of crossing the line here, but whatever. Not my call to make, and I know that they cut things that were over the line. I know that they cut things because I played the PS2 original a couple years ago. I know what's missing, and I'm thankful. So like, whatever, they were
I remember
conscious
that
about
was
it.
one. I
When
remember
you
last
open
time
the
we
game
talked
up for the
about
first
it. You
time,
said,
it warns you. It warns you at the beginning of the game. Now, it warns you that this is all supposed to be in fun, and please don't get mad at us.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
remember like last time you talked about it, that you said like you were looking for, as you got further in the game, if certain things were cut, because I feel
there
like a
was
lot
there
of
was
the
a sex
more
change side mission that they cut, and I think that's for good reason. But I would be
uh
playing the mission, and I'm like, I'm supposed to escort this fucking lady up the volcano here, and we're supposed to kill people along the way, and she just won't move anymore.
yeah, that happened in the first
Or
one for
or she
me too.
falls through the world. Or we get to the top of the volcano and it says, okay, you need to destroy the 4 turrets. Only 2 pop up. And I'm like, okay, I'll restart from checkpoint. Only 2 pop up. I can see the health bar
Mm,
floating on the ground because it's underground. It's
yeah,
there. Where so there's so many bugs like
I
that.
will say there wasn't as many bugs compared to what you're saying.
So
It
many
sounds
bugs.
like to the first one. So maybe if you ever go play the first one, it won't
I
be
own
as
it. I own
choppy.
it.
But
Yeah. What I find very funny, I don't I played the PS2 original a couple years ago, so like I have a general remembering of it. But as a kid, it was hard. It was a hard game as a kid. And I'm probably sure if I went to go play it now and actually played it all the way through, because I didn't a couple years ago. I just played a little bit of it. I would probably still feel like it's hard. They made it much easier. There's difficulty options, and I'm playing it on easy. Whatever. I'm just trying to get through this fucking thing and platinum it. Not trying to relive the glory days. But besides that, I'm curious because I would not be surprised if the same way as in the 2020 remake of the first game from 2005 or 2004, whenever that first one came out, the telekinesis of picking people up and throwing them is instant. They are on the horizon. You pick someone up, you release them, they're gone. They fly so far away, they will die when they hit the ground. They fly
Yeah.
so far away. I barely use my guns anymore. I just okay, there's a bunch of people. It's like I have a mouse. Click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. Literally, it's all I'm doing. Pick, release, pick, release, pick,
Yeah.
release. And
There
they
was
just
some
go
challenges
flying
in
away.
the first remake there, where it was like throw people. You have to kill a certain amount of people under a time limit on this route, or you have to throw these many items, and like I'm like, I don't remember this being in the first game at all. So they
They
must
added
have
challenges.
added
You're right.
they added
Yeah,
challenges based off the new mechanics, which is fine by me. So, but
yeah.
yeah, you're
There's
right though. With the gravity, you might
it
as well
breaks the
use that.
game. Yeah, why am I even using the meteor gun that takes a while for the meteor hit the ground when I can just in that time click and drag people away from the game
I
forever?
forgot about the
It's
meteor
funny.
gun. That gun
Yeah.
was good,
Yeah.
and when you originally played
Yeah, I
it,
mean, it
because
was
when you
awesome. You
needed
could
to fight a
level a
boss or
building.
something, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, the Godzilla boss fight in this version sucks.
Really?
Because you have to destroy the buildings before he does, because if he does it, he gains health. They made it harder on purpose. Because it
Mm.
was kind of easy on PS2. The third game in my little quick things before you get to your final and my final. Um Pac-Man Museum Plus.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
boy. What an awesome collection of Pac-Man games it is. It's like 14 Pac-Man games. Some
Damn.
of them are whatever. But it's interesting. None of the games on there are like the game. So, in case you didn't know, I'll give some history. Namco, Japanese company, makes an arcade game called Pac-Man, right? Okay, cool.
I've heard of them.
Um, they want to bring it to America. They partner with a company called Midway. You know them
I've heard
because
of
they
them.
also, would end up doing Mortal Kombat. Midway had more rights than just a partner for publishing in a new region with Namco, to the point where Midway let a couple of hackers hack together a version of Pac-Man called Miss Pac-Man. It was originally their version was called Crazy Otto, but eventually Miss Pac-Man was a game Midway made that was based off Pac-Man that Namco owns because they own Pac-Man. They own Miss Pac-Man. Namco didn't make Miss Pac-Man. Namco didn't make Pac-Man Jr. or Baby Pac-Man or Pac-Man
Wait, so there's
Plus.
a Pac-Man Junior and another baby on? Oh man,
I think Baby
baby on the way.
Pac-Man he grows up to Pac-Man Jr. I don't remember. None of those games are in this collection. They acknowledge them. I find it so fascinating. Creator of Pac-Man, Yuji Horii, let hackers, let these pair of kids give his main character a wife, and he canonized it. They gave his main character a son, and he canonized it. He says, yes, that is his wife. Yes, that is his baby boy. None of those games are in this collection. So instead, you get like Pac-Man, you get Super Pac-Man, which is crazy. Pac-Man goes through a maze where there's like doors. It's like that's a one maze and there's doors, and you pick keys to unlock random doors. So you need to get all of the fruit. You're not even getting dots. There's no dots. You get fruits. It's very weird. There's 14 of these Pac-Man games in there. They're fun. There's like a couple DS and Wii Pac-Man like gimmicky things that they took like stylus controls and they just turned into an analog stick motion for this. They're hit or miss. But there's Pac-Man Championship Edition, which is for the Xbox 360,
Is that the
which
one
rules.
I think I have that one
You
on
played
Steam.
you played Pac-Man Championship Edition Deluxe Plus,
Okay.
which was
Okay.
Championship Edition for the Xbox 360, which was commissioned by Microsoft for Namco. Well, they Bandai Namco at that point. They had merged because Xbox Live Arcade was or Xbox Live was getting leaderboard functionality, and Pac-Man, leaderboards would be awesome. So Yuji Horii last video game was Pac-Man Championship Edition for Xbox 360, and then he literally went to go be a professor of game design at a college in Tokyo, which is rad to have a professor be the guy that made Pac-Man.
It's pretty
That
cool.
is that I hope that school's expensive because he's probably worth it. You know what I mean? Like they probably would pay him well. Namco then took that game and made Deluxe, and Deluxe added in the conga line of ghosts. I will say, having played both now, because I played DX Plus on PS3 and Steam, and I played now Championship Edition. I think I might prefer Championship Edition more because the conga line of ghosts implies that if you don't do that, you're doing it wrong. When like the just kind of frenetic, like impromptu urgency of just trying to avoid the ghost, because there's only the four, just like regular Pac-Man and Championship Edition, who are moving faster and faster and all that stuff. It feels more fun to me, but whatever. They made a sequel that wasn't all that great, but that's in there. But then there's like there was an arcade game or a PlayStation 1 Pac-Man game called Pac-Man Arrangement that is awesome, that is just incredibly like visually gorgeous. They made a version of that for PSP that looks ugly, like PSP 3D graphics. DS 3D graphics are pretty ugly, right? I would say even uglier than PS1 or Nintendo 64. It's a weird. They, it's like not high enough, whatever. But this like older version of Pac-Man Arrangement is gorgeous. The ghosts have personalities, they evolve. It's insane. I love this collection. They treat the structure of it is you control Pac-Man in an arcade that you're designing and building, and all the games are Pac-Man games. It's just cute and wonderful. It made me really appreciate Pac-Man a lot more. As funny
Mr.
as it is to
Pac-Man.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one more game I'll mention before the final one, for your final one. Vampire Survivors Rules. That's it. That's
Yeah,
all I
I've
have to say.
played since you gifted it to me for Christmas. Doesn't count for me for last year because I'm playing it this year. But yeah, it is a lot more than I thought it was, just
Yeah.
based off screenshots and the little bit I saw at the Game Awards that they showed in whatever teasers they had for it. I hope it comes to Switch because I would highly consider it. It's a good time burner game. One of those games where you can, you're like, oh shit, 10 minutes have gone by. Cool.
Yeah, because you can do a run and it until you unlock endless mode, it caps you at 30 minutes. So it's the kind of like, oh my god, 30 minutes just passed? That's a half hour. I've been sitting at my computer for 30 minutes. Yeah, it's the most played game on the Steam Deck of 2022.
I think it'll come to Switch eventually. It's probably just
because it's on Xbox. It's on Xbox, and I think they did Microsoft paid for that exclusivity, and it's just literally like a couple people making the game. So
get that check, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Get that
bag. Get that money. I mean, I've been hunting the achievements on Steam because I'm that guy, and eventually, when it comes to at PlayStation, I'll do it all over again there, and Switch would be awesome. What's your final game? Unless you have more.
I mean, I mentioned Dark Souls as a joke in Minecraft because those are old games, but in terms of new games I played last year, and I think I had a hard time remembering what I played, but this one I just been still playing, and I mentioned it a couple times now this episode and during our Game Awards preview episode, our predictions episode. So God of War Ragnarok, big God of War fan, and I mean that before the 2018 one.
Cool.
Before it was cool. But since I don't think last time I talked about it, I think I was like 10 hours in maybe at that point. So like I said, I'm around 27 hours or so. And yeah, I feel like they built off of what 2018 was and all the things I liked about 2018. And the best way I could describe it, and I know you don't like Aliens as much as other people do, but I'm saying it's like it feels almost
the
like
movie Aliens,
movie Alien to Aliens jump, where I'm saying like they're like, hey, we know you really liked this, so we improved it and maybe added more of this, or hey, we made this simpler, but it's still just as good. It's hard not to like go into it without spoilers and whatnot, but
sure,
story is great so far. I feel like there's a couple different themes that they're talking about, and it's not just what it was last time. They're not rehashing that. It's completely different now. Um, Not completely different, but like just it feels like they're going in a natural direction. And I like what they're doing because I feel like what the first game was about, this feels natural to talk about what these themes are. Um, and I'm actually liking more of the lore now, like Norse mythology lore, if
Hmm.
you want to call it that. Just the Norse mythology in it, like the background stuff that maybe I was like overwhelmed with in the last game because it was brand new to me, like playing God of War, but now like having what God of War was about and knowing what happens in that, and then going into this and they're building off some of the stuff or fleshing out some of the other characters and there's a lot of other things that were surprising in this game that I won't spoil that I'm like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting to go this direction and let me do this or let
Hmm.
me do this or whatnot. And I feel like they brought more of what I liked about the original games into it. Uh,
Okay.
like they actually have, I think, more boss fights and
Okay.
more just cool boss fights. They're fighting, showing over the top action. Like that's what I think of when I think of God of War, and I feel like they grounded it. They didn't want to like make it too over the top again. I feel like they're bringing it back a little bit in a way that feels believable. Uh, so I just really like that part of it. That I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want Kratos to get thrown 50 miles away like that. Like yes, he's a god still, right? So like he should be able to take those kind of hits. And that's what happened in the original games is that you're fighting Zeus or whatever and he would chuck you like across the planet or whatever and then punch you and like it's just stupid almost anime bullshit, right? um but yeah, I just like that they're talking more about what happened in those games and like, hey, Kratos has learned this, or Kratos still has this opinion, or is he wrong? Is he right? This character thinks this way about his actions, and uh, you know, and will say I did switch to went from performance mode to, or sorry, I went from graphics mode to performance mode, and I haven't gone back now. Performance mode, I'm sold. 60 FPS
Yeah.
is juicy during that
Yeah.
combat. I don't
Yeah.
notice too much like visual differences. There is sometimes when like things pop in, maybe
A little bit too
compared to when,
closely.
yeah, I'm in performance mode. But I'm like, it's a video game. It's not going to
Yeah.
be a movie.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
hard to go back to 30 FPS. Like, it's really be
because I
worth
kept
it for me at
switching
this
back and
point.
forth for like an hour or two, and then I'm like, let me just stick with 60. And if I really feel like the visuals are tanking or something, I feel like I'm not getting that because I'm all about the atmosphere too. With these,
Sure.
especially like Last of Us. That's what you play the Sony exclusives for too. Is like you mentioned earlier, the third person action adventure story driven games. But part of that makes those games good is the atmosphere, the terrain that you're in and whatnot. And they do a great job with that. And I still think even in uh, performance mode, it still feels great. This game is perfect for winter. I mentioned earlier, Gran Turismo is great for summer. This is a great winter game because of what's happening in the game and a lot of snow and stuff, and it just adds more to that, like I guess feeling like you're in the game, if that makes sense. But yeah, I could talk about it for hours, but just really, really loving it. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad that God of War gets the love it does. Never would have thought that 10 years ago after God of War 3 would be here. But I'm glad it was because I was skeptical when the first trailer for the first God of War
I remember you
came
saying
out,
that.
and it's now I'm just like, yeah, this might be my favorite God of War game so far, and it's not even over yet. We'll see. I'm
Nice.
hoping to. I don't want to commit to platinuming it, but if I'm imagining what it was the first game is like, where I can just switch to easy mode after a certain point and knock out some of the harder shit, I'll do that. But so far I've been on normal, and I think playing like Dark Souls and stuff has helped me a
Just
ton.
trains you to be patient. I'm
Yeah, to be
sure it
patient.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's been I ran into this one side boss who has this really cool fucking Norse name and has this, and if you pick up certain things around it,
Gregory.
but if you read like certain runes and stuff around the area, it tells you more about who this person is before you fight them. And they're really, really tough, but I beat them today after doing all the other missions around the area and upgrading my armor and changing some of my abilities, because you have different abilities that you can switch for certain weapons. Went in, I'm like, I realize I have to be more aggressive and not let them play how they want to play, and it's like almost like actually dueling someone. So I'm like excited to see.
Interesting.
They're one of 9 of these things too. So like I'm hoping
Oh,
to see what the other ones, how they, if there can be different
interesting.
tendencies. And I'm like, cause I like playing the first one. I think that was my thing, was I just kind of played, I think, everything the same way because maybe it's just my skill. And like I said, playing Dark Souls, I think, helped me realize I can be patient. I also have to know when to be aggressive and be confident that this is when I need to do damage. And as soon as I do my damage, I need to back up.
Yep.
Or some enemies, they're just gonna keep range attacking me until I kill them. So I need to like charge at them and get them killed. But yeah, there's a lot more enemies in the first game. I think the worlds are they improved upon in terms of like the world building and whatnot. But yeah, I really really like the game, and I'm curious to see where it goes. They've been making a point of saying this is gonna happen, and I don't know if I'm prepared for it. We'll see if it even happens at all. So I don't know. It's really exciting, really exciting. And I'm like, now I'm like more into Norse mythology than I ever thought I was. Cause I was always kind of like, no, Greek, I think has always been my favorite. Then like, I'm like, I don't know. Norse is pretty cool now. Like after like learning more about what the world is and like, or like what their ideas and whatnot of each god were, just really, really cool. Also the voice actors and whatnot for like, some of the Norse gods are just really really good, like Thor, who they've shown in plenty of trailers, so no spoilers, but he whoever the actor is for Thor, freaking amazing. I'm in love with him. Like he does such a good job. He's fucking tough. He is a dude that you don't want to fuck with, but he's low-key funny and you respect him, but he's also just like stubborn as hell. I love it. I just love his character and
Interesting.
the delivery of him. He's not Chris Hemsworth Thor. It's like completely different.
Right.
Like, and I like this more. Sorry, Chris, but this is what I think Thor should be. Like a guy who's been in battles and killed monsters and shit. This is who he should be. And then Odin is not what I expected, but in a good way. I'm like, oh shit, this is really cool. So yeah. It's enough of me rambling about God of War, but I'm hoping to finish it soon because I'm trying to. While also doing this, I keep splitting time with Sonic Frontiers, and I'm hoping to kind of finish them at the same time, and then I can be like free for a little bit, and then jump into maybe some stuff that I have on my backlog, or maybe get Dead Space because I know that's came out. So
yeah. And then there's Resident Evil 4. It's like April.
I know. Yeah, and then freaking the Callisto Protocol was out too a couple months ago.
Yeah,
so many of these tank horror
and there's
games,
a Silent Hill 2 remake coming eventually.
There's no time.
I hope it's the end of the year.
No time.
Oh my god.
You need to stop.
Oh my god.
Like I said, 2 years. Let's all wait 2 years. Wait for everyone to catch up.
Yeah. You mentioned how God of War Ragnarok to you feels like a really good like winter game. My final game is a very good winter game as well. And it's going to be like people are going to roll their eyes like, okay, yeah, everyone's played that game. What more is there to say? I played Skyrim a bunch. Literally.
That is a winter game. I can see that. Yeah. Especially later on once you get into certain areas, 100%.
Yeah. When Destroy All Humans 2 crashed on me in Tunguska when I was collecting collectibles in their fake version of a Russian town called Tunguska, I said, I don't know what I want to do. I want to play games, but I don't know what I want to do. And I went on to, because I have PlayStation Plus's Super Ultra Premium package bullshit thing. And I'm like, what do I want to do? Oh, yeah, I forgot. I played some of their PS1 stuff on there, and I got some platinums off that. But I'm like, what new stuff is added that I can at least download and pretend I'm going to play? Like, oh, PS5 port of Skyrim. And I realized that came out last year, well, 2021, so 2 years ago now. Like, oh, and that's on here I can redeem. I'll redeem it. Redeemed a few things, but I redeemed that. I'm like, I could get some of the trophies in this pretty easily. I'm just going to do it. Just going to see. And then I got sucked in.
Oh, you're finally awake.
I got sucked
or whatever the line is. Whatever the line is at the beginning there.
Yeah. That opening is too long, but I've seen it a few times. I got sucked the hell in. This is the first time on console that you can play it at 60 frames a second. Even the PS4 and Xbox One versions were still 30.
I can't even imagine what that looks like.
Yeah, because playing it on PS3, and you played on PS3 as well. I platinumed it on PS3 years ago.
That's 30,
Um,
right? Like back then, right?
at best,
Yeah.
it's not staying at 30. Definitely not staying at 30. And the load times were like
Oh
3
yeah.
minutes. 3
Yeah.
minutes. When your
You can go
file
use the
size goes up
bathroom
and
and
up.
come back.
Yeah.
You have time.
It was the game where
Go get
like
snacks.
I would be on my phone in 2011, my iPhone 4. I would be on my phone like scrolling, I don't know what I was doing, playing a game on there. Excuse me. 'Cause I think this was before I got into Twitter. I would do things while Skyrim was loading because when your file size went up and up and up, it just has to load and load and load. Um, 60 frames a second, native 4K. The load times, my friend, 2 seconds.
What? So you
It
don't even get the tips anymore. You can't even
changes.
rotate the
No,
object.
you can't. You can't. You can't read them. You don't have time to read. It changes, and I realize this. And I want to do like a video on this. This is weird on Skyrim because I've learned things about the game now. Um, it changes how I approach the game because like okay, you went through a dungeon and you went to a side. You're encumbered. You gotta drop some, give your follower some shit. Okay, you can barely walk now. If you're just on the line, time to go drop off your stuff. Fast travel to Whiterun or wherever your home is. But I'm just saying Whiterun before the DLC would let you build a home. Because PS3 got all three of those DLCs after Xbox because they could not get them to work on PlayStation. So I got them all after they were already out. So I played a lot of it vanilla without fast travel to Whiterun. That's 3 minutes of loading. I walk up to my house, open the door to walk in, 3 more minutes of loading. I walk around to a box that's full of shit. It has to load what's in the box. So it loads partially, and as I dump stuff in there, as I go to pick something up, if I scroll down too far, it freezes up because it has to load the rest of what's in the
Oh my
box.
god.
And then I'm done. I leave the house, 3 more minutes of loading. I fast travel to where I want to go next. That's 3 more minutes of loading. I did the Thieves Guild stuff. That was my favorite thing. Fast travel to Whiterun. Walk through the door. Downstairs. There are 2 main rooms in the Thieves Guild that are separated by a loading screen. That's 3 minutes. If I need to pick up a job, I have to go through another one to get to the other room. The PS5, it doesn't fucking matter because it's 2 seconds. Now I'm like, yeah, I just need to go home because I picked up another cheese wheel I want to drop off at the pantry.
Drop a cheese
I don't
wheel,
even
yeah.
care if my shit's full. I'll just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's changed my approach to how I play that game, which is insane. It's insane, and that feels so weird, but that's what the power of the SSDs now
Okay, here.
do.
You want a hot take though? Maybe here. Maybe we need that. Maybe we need to bring back those loading screens to teach us patience because we're consuming things at
Yeah,
a high level.
maybe.
You're on TikTok, right? All of a sudden, 30 minutes go by because you watched 100 videos and you don't even realize it, right? Maybe we need
Loading
Elder
screens between
Scrolls
the
6 to come in
TikToks?
our time of need to bring us back.
Give
Make
us
us slow down a
back
little
that
bit.
3 minutes of loading. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be like, hey, you know what? Go
Um,
get a snack for yourself. Go drink some water for once. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? You're going to get 3
purposely
minutes
make
of loading.
them 3 minutes, even if
You're
they don't
going to
need
get
it.
3 minutes of loading in Skyrim or an Elder Scrolls 6. And what are you going to do during that wait? You're going to be on TikTok. So, like, you're still going to,
Fuck.
you know.
I don't know. Maybe it has a tips to be like, hey, get off your fucking phone. It
You're
shows
playing our game. We spent
That's
years
the loading. No, that's the
making this.
rotating thing. The object. It'll be an iPhone, and it'll be like, we know you're on this right now. You should maybe turn it off. You can learn something.
Hey, if that's not going to be in the game, duh, but mod it in. Someone mod that in. It tells you to get off the fucking
Yeah,
phone. You're playing an awesome video game.
I want. And then we were just talking about how games should be shorter, but Elder Scrolls 6, you get a pass, like we said. Add the 3 minute loading screens.
Yep.
Make us wait for it.
Yep, make us wait for it.
Teach us patience again.
Yeah.
In our
I
time
have
of need.
done-
In our time of need.
I decided I'm going to platinum the PS5 version. I've gotten all of the trophies except for the main story stuff and like
Oh,
the
really?
non-thieves guild like guilds that you can join, the mages college, the companions, where they fight like werewolves or whatever, and the assassins, the Dark Brotherhood. I have those 3 to do, and then the main story, and I have the game platinumed. But I will also do the DLC as well. I literally was like,
I never
Eventually,
played the
I'm going to get
DLC.
bored. It's interesting. The first one was vampires, where you can either be a
Yeah.
vampire hunter or become a vampire. I chose to be a vampire.
I mean, hell
Maybe I'll
yeah.
do the vampire hunter. Probably not. The second one was you get to build a house, but really all that was there are 3 places where you can spend a shit ton of materials or literally pay an NPC to finish it for you to build prefabs there. Okay, here's a small house. Now you can turn that small house into the entryway for a large house. You can build a grand hall. You can build that's just 2 stories and has a basement, which and then you can build there are there's 3 wings, left, right, and the back. And there are 3 options for each. But you can have 3 houses, so of course you can you can make sure you get them all in all 3 houses. Okay, cool, that's a lot of materials. But then the inside is empty, so you're just spending shit just to literally build out the house. You're not like dragging and dropping things in there. It's just I will throw a shit ton of wood and clay and materials just to make the dresser appear there with stuff on it. It's just like prefabs, whatever. But it's fun. It's a nice fun thing to like um have an end game for of like I will have all 3 of these houses decked out with shit because one of the trophies was have 100,000 gold pieces on you at one time, not total like some games do, like have this much money over the course. No, have it fucking on you at one point. So I got really into the fucking smithing game of making shit and selling it and making shit and selling it to the point
Mm.
where I needed the Thieves Guild because the fences had more money on them than your standard shopkeeper. And if I'm walking up with a plate of armor worth more than an entire shopkeeper's worth of money, I need my full amount. So I had so much money, so like I just, whatever. The end game, you need stuff to spend it on, I feel like. Um then the third DLC was an entire island to go to with story and
Yeah,
new
yeah. I
stuff to
remember hearing
explore,
about that. I
which was
never could
cool
get
and
it just
fun.
because we didn't have. I don't know. Just probably didn't have the money.
It
So just
also
comes out.
came out like a year or so or 2 after. I felt like it came late to PS3. Um, I've learned, and this is funny because I watched a video about Morrowind, the third Elder Scrolls game, and how much more complicated its story is, and how you can't do everything. You kind of get what the decisions you make lock you into certain paths, and how that game compared to Skyrim, you feel more rewarded that way. I haven't played Morrowind, but I will say there is a magic to this game. There is a magic to rounding all of the corners off. To yes, you can be a vampire and a werewolf and a mage and a thief and an assassin and a werewolf hunter and the dragonborn and wanted in every hold, yet also be their thanes, their heroes, and you can still be nobody. And this and that. You can do that all on one save file and one character, and no one bats an eye. There is, it feels weird to say, but there's a magic to how the game really does like go out of its way to prevent things from not happening because of your choices. Unless you kill people, pretty much everything is still possible to you, and it
Yeah,
just feels good.
it's a
No,
play
you're no
box.
longer
That's
role
what it
playing.
is. It's a RPG play box where it's
Yeah,
not really gonna limit you
it's
at the end of
just
the day.
I hate the word content and how we use it in modern days, but it really does feel like a do all the content type of game. Like, we're not going to judge you. You're no longer role playing because you can't be a thief that is literally you fail missions if you kill people. Yet also be the assassin where your job is to kill people. Those don't, they don't mix. Like, you can literally sell your soul to all 13 of the Daedric princes, the evil bad like immortal godlings. You can literally be like a pawn to all 13 of them and they don't acknowledge that you are already taken. You know what I mean? As well as the actual gods. Um and I also realized this too because when this game came out in 2011, we were in high school and I was, an ignorant person. I wouldn't say I was shitty in my political opinions. I was just ignorant on what they were, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, you were
But
like 12 or whatever.
no, it's like
Older than
17.
that. Whatever. Math
Whatever.
is
In
hard.
high school in 2011.
Yeah.
Um It's so weird, the whole Stormcloak versus the Empire stuff. Like, playing it now, I don't like either of them, and they don't handle them. Here's how they characterize them: it's only the negative stuff. And you are meant to imply that just existing and living is somehow the good to strive for, of why you might like the this or the that. The Empire sucks because they control the entire continent. Um, they ban worship on certain gods. You know, they don't acknowledge that certain gods are gods. They will just take you if they feel like you're breaking one of the ultimate laws, and they'll parade you around. They suck, right? And they don't respect local governments. They, you know, they don't call them jarls of the holds. They call them the Nord kings. Oh, sorry, jarls. They go out of their way, so they suck there. The Stormcloaks are racist. They just are. They are literally, they say Skyrim is for the Nords. The Nords have a right to rule Skyrim. The white people rule this land.
They're white supremacists.
Okay, maybe you're reaching
magic
Ethan.
Or whatever.
Maybe you're reaching, Ethan. Ethan, you're reaching. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm reaching. Let's go to their main city there, Winterhell. I've been reading Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
Winterfell is in Game of Thrones. Winterhold and Windhelm are two. You go to Windhelm, which is where the Stormcloak King Ulfric is, the Jarl there, and the leader of that. Every time you enter one of the major holds, they make sure something happens right away, so you have an impression, right? Besides Whiterun, you go into Riften, you get taken into the Thieves Guild. You go into Markath, someone's murdered. You go into Solitude, where the Empire has its biggest fold. Someone is being executed because they committed a crime. You go into Windhelm, and two Nord men are berating a dark elf woman because she's a dark elf, and potentially not trustworthy because she's not a Nord, because she's a dark elf. And then they all walk away. And so I walk up to the dark elf, and I'm playing as a high elf woman. Because I'm like, I always played as a Nord, because I'm like, as most of the people in this game are Nords in Skyrim. I learned that before playing. I'll be a Nord. Also, because he looks most like me. That's acceptable to roleplay as someone that looks like yourself, whatever. But this time I played as a high elven woman. By the way, everyone in this game looks ugly. That's why there are so many mods on PCs to make you look like Barbie dolls. But I walk up and I talk to this woman. Now, I wanted to keep in mind, I'm a high elf. Basically, I'm not a dark elf. She just says, after being braided, do you hate my people too? And your two options are, yes, I hate dark elves, or no, I don't hate your people. And then regardless of what you say, she just complains about how no one trusts her because she's a dark elf and walks away.
God.
In
Windhelm, I didn't notice any of that too much.
I didn't
I remember like, I don't know what I picked when you had the option. I probably picked the Empire just because maybe it made sense in the moment.
I picked the Stormcloaks because I'm like, yeah, they want to run, like they're literally like white supremacists.
They are January 6th rioters.
Yeah. Windhelm, which is, and all the major holds are surrounded by walls because you have to load into them. The ones that of the major cities that don't have that are basically like Riverrun, that first town you walk into, but with a couple more buildings. So that's how there's no walls around them. Windhelm is giant stone walls, and it's characterized by giant tall stone, orthogonal buildings of hard right angles, and it's cold and it sucks. There's literally, I wouldn't say apartheid because they don't say you can't go here, but there are slums where all the dark elves live called the Grey Quarter. And they all live there and they're poor. And I pick up a book in the castle there, off some random shelf, and they're it's dissecting what to do with the dark elves in Skyrim. And they point out to Riften, where in Riften, the dark elves there, they worked for a living. They are respectable because they earned their place in society. But Windhelm opened their borders to immigrants, and they let them all in without saying you need to earn a living here. now we don't know what to do with them, and they beg in the Great Court. I'm sitting here being like, wow, there's just no gray. They're just saying this without any solution.
They're doing the fascism.
They are. And then you go and you overhear how Ulfric's talking to his right-hand man about, they need to win because, who has a right to rule, the voiceless people of Skyrim, of all these Nords, I will sing their songs. God. And like you get, okay, yeah, I guess, but like outside, literally you walk, because Skyrim is, the physical space of Skyrim is probably like smaller than, I don't know, any city in real life, any major. It's tiny. You realize how fast you can sprint across the entire place. It's very small, so like literally 30 feet away from you is the slums of people that you hate because they don't look like you. So I find it so fascinating to go back to 2022. I'm not saying like Bethesda is this or that. It's just, I find it cute and charming how just on the nose their take on these issues are by not actually having a take.
It was definitely, I don't know, like Skyrim for me is just one of those games that I'll remember forever, just because I at least beat the story mode and played probably 60, 70 hours in the game. And I know my dad plays it here and there still, and he never knows what he's doing, but it's fun when he tells me about what he did. It's just one of those games, man. Like, I think it's just going to go down as one of those games for the next 100 years, assuming we're still making video games by then.
We'll be dead by then, but no, it will always be up there as
10
one of the
will be
most
out
important.
by 2100.
Are you sure? I don't think
we're getting
so.
6 in like by 2030. You have enough years.
6 is probably not even going to, I understand it's an Xbox exclusive now, but it's probably not even going to be on the current Xbox. It's probably going to be a next-gen game because it takes so fucking long to make these damn things.
Well, yeah, they're adding in all the loading screens, and they have to think about how many different options they can do.
So that's the games we played in 2022, and a little bit of 2023. I have one final question for you, Devin. You may not have an answer. You might not.
Okay.
Is there a game in 2023 that you are looking forward to?
I mean, there's like the Final Fantasy 16 there that looks kind of cool. For the first one that really came to my mind, I'm interested in Dead Space. I mean, I know it just came out, and I keep forgetting it's out.
Did it just come out?
I think it came out last week, maybe.
I know it's this month, but
whatever. But like, when I get to it, I'll get to it because I really liked that original game. I'm curious to see if it still got that charm. There's no like big heavy hitter that I'm like, yes. I mean, there's just a lot of ones that I'm interested in. We'll see if we get to them when we get to them. A lot of games are coming out this summer all at the same time, which sucks, I think. I mean, we did the Game Awards episode, how many ones it felt like that were coming out this summer. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just kind of, right now I'm just going with the flow. I want to finish God of War and Sonic Frontiers, and then we'll see what's happening when that is done,
Okay.
But I guess those are just a couple that came to mind when I think about this year. I'm sure I'm missing something that I did say maybe in the Game Awards episode. I'm like, yes.
There's a lot of just games in general, feels like these days.
Yeah.
I am super looking forward to Final Fantasy 16, as you mentioned. I rewatched the Game Awards trailer a couple times, and then a previous trailer which came out in honestly like a month earlier or whatever. That was more like, here's what each of the different kingdoms.
Yeah, I watched both of those too. A couple weeks back.
Super interested in that game, and it looks so much fun and it looks so cool. And like, going back to marketing, I remember the marketing and the build up to Final Fantasy 15 was heavily leaning on, it's Final Fantasy, a legendary franchise. This is the next new entry. You are excited because it's Final Fantasy 15. Rather, as this time, the marketing and all that is like, look at this awesome video game that looks cool, and it's called Final Fantasy 16. It isn't trying to be like, remember when you played Final Fantasy 7 or 10 or 6 or whatever. This is the next new look at what Final Fantasy is now. Um,
Yeah.
I'm blown away by the stuff that they show in that game. I actually rewatched the 2020 original trailer for it. It looks so much better than that now, graphics wise. That it looks, I don't know. I'm super excited for that. And then like the sequel to Final Fantasy 7 remake is supposed to come out in like the end of the year, which is
Oh
also
yeah.
insane to me. But yeah,
We'll see.
we'll see. But all right. Any final things we want to talk about before we wrap this up? I feel like we've gone on a lot longer than we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's good though. We have more space now in the data bank
That's true.
because no Chronicles of Diesel.
That's true.
For now.
I thought you were talking about loading
but
times for a second there. I'm like, what are we saving?
oh, we should add loading times to our episodes. Be like, hey, go get a drink. Hey, did you know that you can steal, you can pickpocket if you hold down R1 while
Oh, can I mention just one more Skyrim thing? I'm sorry. In 2011, the PS3 version, I had Lydia as my follower because that was the first one I had, and I'm like, oh, she's cool, or whatever. And I was a bow guy, and I would just hit her a lot by accident because she would just get in the fucking way. So this time, I'm like, I'm not gonna go with a melee person. I kept her until I found someone else. There was this random road, and there is a tower, and I go in, and this woman, Ilya, is like, hey, I'm a part of this coven, but I think they're kind of fucked up, and my mom is like the matriarch, and like she's too far gone, and will you help me kill everyone here? And I'm like, sure. So we kill everyone. I'm like, I like this woman. She's a magic user. I'm gonna have her be my follower. And I equip her with every staff in the game, and she knows a bunch of spells, and she uses the staves. There's a glitch where in order to get her to change her armor, you need to give her a headpiece first, because then she puts that on, which forces her default clothes to go away. Dumb bug. I gave her every staff I find. She'll kill things before I even get to them because she just is OP or whatever. There
Oh
is
my
a
God.
bug that's been in the game since when it first came out that has never been officially patched, even by 2021 when the anniversary edition came out on PS5 and Xbox Series X. If you, because in the game you can dismiss a follower so that you can get a second one, or if you just don't want someone around, you can dismiss them. Not just, wait here, but it's time for us to part ways, and then they say, I'll go back home. Lydia goes back to whatever house, the house in Whiterun, if you own it, because she's your house Carl, right? Ilya goes back to the tower that, after you finished her side mission thing there. The bug is that as soon as you dismiss her, you can't talk to her ever again. You talk to her
Oh
and
my
she just
God.
says something random, like there'd be like guards, you hit them, they don't have a dialogue thing, they just say a thing. You talk to her, she just says, "Oh, fine weather we're having," or she says something like that. I'm like,
Oh my God.
no. So I'm like, there are some areas in the game where I need to have someone else following me. There's a trophy for doing all the Daedric quests, and one of them has you sacrifice a follower. I don't want to sacrifice her. So I have to wait until I do that one last so that I can just reload. So I get the trophy and then reload because I don't want to sacrifice her. You can make a follower be a steward for your home in the DLC. So I want someone else to be the steward because I still want her to fight with me, but I can't because she'll walk away and I can never talk to her again. So I'm
Yeah,
stuck to this woman now.
That's crazy.
So
But
I'm sorry.
they kept to the original
Original
script.
vision, yeah.
Original vision.
Yeah. There's a mod on PC where you can have like 10 followers if you want.
Oh my God.
Or it just
at that
unlocks
point. That's a
that. Yeah,
battalion
yeah.
at least.
Yeah, it breaks the game because, you try shoving 10 people into a cave and sneak around. It's not going to work. All right. Any final things? I'm sorry for that tangent there.
No, you're good. No, yeah. I'm good. I think I'm happy where I'm at video game wise. My goal is to just go with the flow and play what feels right in the moment and finish the things that I really like, and then be okay with. I've always said this for the last couple of years. I'm like, I've gotten a lot better at just being like, hey, it's okay to just step away, or knowing, hey, I'm not going to play Horizon because it's not worth to get invested at all.
Yeah, I had to admit, as I want to play God of War Ragnarok. I have the 2018 game. I'm going to play that again fresh from the beginning because I never finished it. Fresh save file. It's installed on my PS5 on the SSD, no less. There's limited space on that fucking thing. I want to just run through the story on that game and then play Ragnarok. But I'm not going to do that with Horizon. Sorry, Horizon. You look awesome.
I think Horizon's like closer to like a 100-hour game, isn't it? Like if you really do everything, I think.
Right. It's an open world. I just don't have time.
God of War, like I said, I was able to do all of it in probably 60 hours. And knowing you, I feel like you probably could, especially if you did a walkthrough or something for like some of the side quest stuff.
Yeah.
50 hours.
Or even just playing it on easy, you know. But yeah. And like, hey, you mentioned, you know, playing a Souls game and actually getting into a Souls game after the 2018 game has helped you. The same thing with me. I wasn't into those games when God of War came out.
Yeah.
And now I am. I platinumed Demon Souls Remake this year, you know, and I even played a bit of the PS3 original. Yeah. I'm looking forward to knocking out my backlog of games I purchased this year that I haven't touched. So this has been a very fun episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Remember, folks, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sonic Movie Show. That didn't hurt, and I said ouch anyway. I feel embarrassed. I'm on
part
Twitter.
Of your head, though.
Yeah. Well, I shaved my head, so I need my hair to grow out a bit before I'm comfortable not having a hat on camera. I'm on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. Devin's on Twitter at CursonaFun. Let us know what games you played this year. Did you like Elden Ring? I mean, I did. Did you hate God of War Ragnarok? Devin did.
We miss? You know? Did we miss something? Like, is there one game that we both of us did mention?
I'm sure we missed.
I know, but like I'm saying, is there one game that you really liked? And
you didn't talk about Cult of the Lamb or Neon White. Like, listen, I installed the kiddie game Stray on my PS5 and I haven't touched it. I will.
That's one game I need. We played one night and then a lot of like TV shows and stuff came out and we're like one of these weekends we're just gonna power through it. Yeah, so
I heard it's not long.
It's not, but I really liked it and it's really cool world.
There was a Last of Us remake. I haven't played.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't even purchased it.
I'm having a break because the show's coming out this week.
Yeah. Oh, the show is totally gonna get me into just buying that and playing it. I know it will.
I heard it's getting good reviews too, so I'm excited.
Yeah. It starts. First episode's probably out by the time this episode airs. So yeah, enjoy your TV shows. Enjoy your gaming. Have a fantastic day.
See ya.